Good evening everybody, and welcome to the latest hobby update. So currently I am painting some of the Royal Horse Guards. I'm only doing a couple of horses at the minute, simply because these are going to be for the bugler and the commanding officer there. So obviously slightly different to the grey horses that I did the video about the other day, but it's really more or less the same principle. But the subject of tonight's video is actually how did you get into wargaming? Now, it's a question that I have been asked on occasion, is how did I get into wargaming? Normally when I'm talking to someone about wargames and they're kind of like, how did you get into that? And I explain to them that it's not just playing with little plastic men, it's also the research side of things as well, which is quite interesting. Getting into all the history of the units and everything. I mean, take these for example, these Royal Horse Guards. I mean, they were founded during the English Civil War, I think it's 1650. I could be wrong, I'm not quite sure about that. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like that's when they were founded. So, I mean, doing a little bit of research, obviously, into uniforms and everything, so you get them a little bit correct. As I say, I'm not 100% a historically accurate painter, but that's neither here nor there really, and that's not the subject of tonight's video. The subject of tonight's video is how do you get into wargaming. So, I started very young, you could say, doing Dungeons and Dragons with the family, sat around the table, Sunday, Saturday, not quite sure, can't quite remember which day of the week it was. But we sit around the table and have a game of D&D. I always used to be a hobbit with a dog. Loved having a dog. Used to do everything with that dog as a hobbit. And my sister was also a halfling. And as I say, you sit around there with my dad and the rest of the family playing that, and obviously we'd have little miniatures we can move around the table, little tiny bits of scenery, and that's really how I started. But and then from there obviously progressed on to Warhammer 40k, and then Necromunda and Gorka Morka and all the Games Workshop's games. And it's kind of like rolling lots of dice, and as I said in previous videos, got into historical through bolt action. In World War II, took an interest in that, did that. Now, the question has to be, what route did you guys take? Did you guys take that route? Did you not take that route? So, it's interesting that. So, if you were to get somebody new, you'd never ever played before, what game would you introduce them to first? Me? Well, I wouldn't necessarily introduce them to something like Warhammer 40k first. Or Project Z. I wouldn't do that first. I would do something they're more likely to know. So, sorry about that, just getting the brush up. So, maybe something along the lines of bolt action could be good. Black Powder, Hail Caesar, maybe a bit of sharps practice actually. I mean, sharps practice, it's not a bad game. I've never played Saga, so I couldn't tell you what that one's like, but I don't know how easy that is to pick up. I'm sure one of you guys could inform me as to how easy that would be to pick up Saga. As I say, I've never really played it, so I wouldn't know. Or would you say take them down to 140k in science fiction stuff? Would you say bring them in an X-Wing? I mean, again, that's what I've never really played. Or would you take them, say, like Blood Red Skies? I mean, that's fairly easy to pick up without the cards in the basic, very basic mode. I suppose you could introduce them to that. That may work. Alternatively, maybe Cool Seas, Victory at Sea. They're always good ones. Or would you go down to something along the lines of Dead Man's Hand, or What a Cowboy, or What a Tanker, maybe? I don't know really. I think if it was someone that was completely new, never picked up a dice, never seen a war game before, I would have to say you'd have to pick something they would know. Which would have to be, I would say, something historical. You couldn't really do anything but historical, really, I don't think. Only because if you did, they may not necessarily enjoy it. It'd have to be something really simple, quick and easy to pick up. Something where they can get into the game and start rolling dice straight away. Because I think that's one of the things where the hobby falls down, is you get new people coming in, they go to a club, and depending on the club, I mean, some clubs out there love new people turning up and always welcoming, always willing to explain. I mean, I go to a club where guys quite happily welcome, and myself, we quite happily welcome new players, even people who've never been to war games before. Quite happy to welcome new people in. Although there are some clubs out there where even as an experienced gamer you can turn up with your army and your force and have organised a game, and really nobody talks to you apart from your one opponent. There are some clubs out there, so I think if you're going to introduce somebody new to the hobby, they have to be, one, obviously wanting to do it, and two, you have to make sure that you introduce them to a game where they're not going to be overwhelmed. So something small, skirmish type, simple rules. I mean, dare I say, you could say sort of Blood Bowl, although it's a fantasy game. Rules are fairly simple, he says. They can be a little bit complicated at times, but the majority of the time they're fairly simple. I suppose it is a fun game, easy to enjoy. Again, not too difficult to pick up. Next question has to be is, how would you advise them on starting in the hobby? Now personally I would not advise anybody to go to a Games Workshop. That's just me personally though. I would not advise that. simply because all they're going to want to do is sell you their games. And then that's it. So as I say, it's just a quick one really. I wouldn't necessarily say have somebody new come into Napoleonics, or any rank and file game, because that could put them off. When they see the amount of figures, they're going to be like, "Ooh, do I need to paint that many figures? Ooh, not sure about that. Not sure about that." So yeah, so I'd say a skirmish game. Skirmish game is most probably the best, and again, an area that they would like, that they may know about. So I would actually most probably say, given everything, I would say bolt action is most probably your best bet, because World War II, skirmish game. You could start off with, say, the Band of Brothers box set or the Island Assault box set, and then obviously they're only small forces. Person's not going to be overwhelmed, and then yeah, the rules are fairly easy to pick up. I mean, obviously, if you guys got any other thoughts, please feel free to put a comment down below, or you can do a video and tag me in the response. It's entirely up to you. So it's rather interesting. What you do? I mean, there's no clear-cut, easy way in. You could say it's a bit of a niche hobby, but I suppose without any new blood coming in, it's a bit difficult. It's a bit difficult to get it going. So I would say for new people, your best bet is go for maybe bolt action, something small, something simple that they're going to know. Not necessarily rank and file, unless they're interested in Napoleonics or they're interested in that sort of history. But if they're generally new to wargaming, I would say something simple like that. Or Spectre, although Spectre's kind of simple, not kind of simple. It's kind of 50-50 really. I have got the rules, I haven't really played them. So yeah. Terribly sorry about that. It's getting on a little bit now. So I would say yes, if you're going to introduce somebody to wargaming, it would have to be something simple that they can grasp quickly and easily, without too much worry or stress, and something that they're going to know that doesn't require a lot of miniatures in order to play, so they're not going to get overwhelmed or anything like that with the amount of miniatures that they have to paint. Or the other thing I would say is, obviously, if you've got somebody new coming in, don't overwhelm them with your number of miniatures or painting. Make them feel welcome, as I know most people do. As I said, there are some clubs out there people don't necessarily do it, but that is one of those things, I suppose, unfortunately. But I mean, it'd be interesting to know how you guys got into wargaming. As I say, I mean, I've kind of had a bit of a head start. I've always been around it my entire life. So to me, it's like, well, always been around it, always been interested in it, so I've always done it. But saying that, I do know there's guys down my local club whose kids have always been around it, but they've shown absolutely no interest in it. So I suppose that's again just a matter of personal choice, really, isn't it? So yeah, so as I say, leave a comment or something down below, and then let me know. So I'm going to carry on with these Royal Horse. Sorry about this, I've got to get my reference material up just to make sure that I get these colours in the right place. So I'm going to carry on with these guys. and then I will leave you to it, bid you good night. But as part of a hobby update, I have finished the 71st. No doubt you would have seen them. The bases are now flocked, and I've also finished the Scots Greys. So the British now have some heavy cavalry to combat the French cavalry, and fairly soon they will have some more heavy cavalry when I finish these guys off. So I've been Glenn Dura. Be interesting to see your responses. Please obviously like, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Bye.